Nice to see everyone. Thank you for coming today. My name is André Ivarsson and I work as a museum educator at the Regional Museum of Skåne in southern Sweden. I am also the project leader of this CREMA-project. And I will now briefly tell you something about the project, what it's all about. CREMA stands for Creative Making in Lifelong Learning. And this is a 3-year project that started in 2019. It will end last December this year. This project was actually prolonged because of the COVID situation. We had a very hard time planning workshops and meetings abroad like this. So the project will end in December this year. And this is a program or project funded by the ERASMUS+. So this is a European project which explores the concept of creative spaces for adults in museums in different ways. The project aims at learning how to make better use of museum collections for creative making as the part of lifelong learning. And I will tell you later what this is, lifelong learning. And the aim of this project is to improve museum services and deliver new skills and competences which can assist adults to stay creative throughout their whole lifetime. And another intended impact of this project is that museums and institutions will start trying to do these methods, trying to create making makerspaces and creative workshops and such. We are 7 partners, and the main organizer is the Regional Museum of Skåne, where I'm from, Sweden. We also have the Finnish Museum Association. We have History and Art, a cultural heritage organization in Copenhagen. We have the Hungarian Open Air Museum, Creative Museum of Latvia, and Radiona Zagreb Makerspace, and also BAM, Cultural Strategies. So those are the 7 partners that will work and have worked with this project. So, the main goal is to achieve lifelong learning through these makerspaces and creative activities. And what is that, really, lifelong learning? It might be a bit confusing, maybe. So, lifelong learning is a form of self-initiated education that is focused on personal development. So this is kind of learning that you usually don't see in schools or universities or in the workplace, because this is by own passion or learning by your own will, so to speak. It is best described as being voluntarily with the purpose of achieving a personal fulfillment. What I want to do, what is my passions, where is my goals. Yeah. And this kind of learning recognizes that humans have natural drive to explore, learn and grow, and encourages to improve your own quality of life and sense of self-worth by paying attention to ideas and goals that inspire us. That's another thing that going to school and learn something. Even though this is the common definition, that it must be self-initiated, it can also occur in informal learning places, such as schools, but it must come from inside. And in this project, the 7 partners will produce reports of certain recommendations and methods on working with makerspaces and workshops. and this aims at the target of adult learners. The first report is called Guidelines for Using Museum Collections in Creative Making, and this is carried out by Denmark and Finland. And we will tell you a little more about these guidelines later. Report 2 is called Guidelines for Engaging New Audiences by Italy. The third one is called Guidelines for Entrepreneurship and Innovation by the Creative Museum, Latvia. Report 4, Guidelines for Intergenerational Learning. 5, Guidelines for People with Special Needs, Hungarian Museum. And the last one is carried out by the main partner, us, Regional Skåne. And this is a compilation of all the reports, making it to a one coherent guide for museums to use. Okay, so I will now ask my partners to come up and tell us something about themselves and also tell something about the guidelines that they're working with. So please come up.
Good morning, everybody. My name is Sophie Brunn. I am from the History and Art, which is an organization entailing 5 institutions. It's the Copenhagen City Museum, Nicolai Kunsthal, which is a space for contemporary art, Thorvaldsen's Museum, Thorvaldsen was a Danish sculptor, Copenhagen City Archives, and then now also we have something called Dansekapellet, which is a space for contemporary dance. We're part of the municipality of Copenhagen, so that's why we're a little strange organization and nobody really understands what history and art means, but that's okay. So we also had a makerspace in history and art called Storm 20, and our guidelines very much focus on some of the activities we did in that makerspace. For example, we had people taking old knitting patterns that had been found, gloves that have been found in archaeological sites, and they have now been reproduced and people will sit and knit them today. So that's a way of connecting the present with the past. And then also Vivi, my colleague who's here from Copenhagen City Museum. Oh, there you are, Vivi. Yes, I didn't see that, sorry. We'll later on present the workshop to you, which we did with blind and people with seeing impairments, and how you can use the museum collections as part of a makerspace, because museum collections are fragile objects, and how do you work with them? And so I really encourage you to take part in the workshop, which Vivi is going to do later on, so you can get a feel for how we did that. So that was just a brief introduction. Do you want to say anything?
I'll just present myself.
Yes.
It's on. As Sophie said, I'm Vivi Lina Anderson, and besides being an archaeologist originally, I am also the head of exhibitions and public outreach at the Museum of Copenhagen. And we, in this project, wanted to focus on not just the elderly, but also elders who have vision impairments or are completely blind. And as we have the archaeological workshop, where we get our guests in very close contact with authentic material, we thought that that could be a way in to really have something very, very relevant for people who do not have their sight. But I will say more about that, and also introduce people to a part of the workshops that we did with that group.
I think it's my turn. It's going to be really shorter. Hi everyone, nice to be here. My name is Milo, and I work with PAM, Cultural Strategies, Strategie Culturali in Italian. We're the strange partner actually here, because we're not a museum, not like all of you, we don't have a space. But we are an organization, we're a company that helps museums on different things. So we work with, we offer different services, but mainly we help organizations get in contact with their audiences and actually understand their audiences. And that's what we brought here in this project, I think. That's also what we wrote about on our guidelines, about engaging new but not also new audiences. So what we wrote here is actually some tools, some techniques, and some also methods for museums on understanding the audiences that they have and the audiences that they would like to reach, and trying to think about making activities as one of the tools that they could activate to engage these people. Shall I say something about the workshop as well? Yes. Okay, our workshop is actually one of the things that we did in our pilot activities, and actually we gathered all the museum stuff and we reflected on audiences. And that's what we want to give to you. So this tool, this workshop on how to think about audiences and how to actually imagine making activities for these audiences. Okay.
Yes, Milo. We are not a museum in terms of a space either. We are a museum, non-governmental organization working for museums and in museums. And as I happen to be a curator of a small place in Riga called Žanislavki Memorial, we will present in the workshop something that we worked on for 3 years now as part of the CREMA-project, which is about digital storytelling. So if you're interested in virtual reality and digital storytelling, be my guest. Marta?
But then you have to skip.
Yeah, it's okay.
Okay, so welcome everyone. My name is Marta Bokonic-Kramlik. To give you some challenges, remembering my name. I'm coming from the Hungarian Open Air Museum, and actually that's the biggest open air museum in Europe at the moment, which means that we do not only attract local visitors to our museum, but visitors coming throughout from the country and also attending from outside of our country borders. And these visitors also include a big variety of people, including people with special needs. And our museum has a great experience with working with people having special needs. We have decades of experience that we try to implement into the guidelines that we've put together for you. So these guidelines are meant to be an encouragement for you, that don't be afraid to work with someone who's a bit different, maybe at some level, from what you are or from who you are. And these guidelines will give you tips, tricks, recommendations, and tools how to set up your space, and also to raise your empathy towards these people, towards these groups, and to think a little bit from their point of view. So that's what the guidelines are about, and also that's what the workshop will be about, to do exercises with you to see the world a bit differently.
Okay, and in the Regional Museum of Skåne, Sweden, we have worked with activities that will implement so-called guidelines for intergenerational learning. And what is intergenerational learning? Well, that is learning by making several generations come together, sharing experiences, values, skills. So it's not about the young teaching the older or vice versa. This is a mutual learning. And one of the good things about this kind of learning is that it makes society stronger and makes it more like a more cohesional society, working against prejudice, ageism, and exclusion. For example, these days in a more digital world, more of the older generation feel almost excluded. And On the other hand, in this digital world, the traditional crafts is more important than ever to preserve. So it might be very fruitful to make these generations come together, sharing skills and knowledge. You can sit if you'd like. So there's also a report number 6 called Compiled Analysis, which is carried out by the Museum of Skåne, Regional Museum. And this is supposed to be a report gathering all the knowledge from reports 1 to 5 with guidelines and recommendations. And this is going to be a user-friendly guide for museums to use on how to make makerspaces, arrange workshops, and so on. And the intended impact that museums and institutions will start creative making activities using these collections for adult learners. And how did we do to make these reports? How did we analyze? How did we go through with it? We had some methods. The first one was mapping, which is actually looking around for examples of guidelines that is used by other museums, for example, or finding publications and articles and see if they might be useful for us. And all 7 partner organizations also carried out pilot tests. And this is makerspaces activities or creative making activities that test these kind of guidelines. And that way we can see which methods worked, which methods did not work, and what can we recommend to other museums. We also handed out a lot of surveys. As a part of the mapping process, we handed out surveys for cultural heritage organizations that work with creative making in one way or another. Most museums today actually have a makerspace, but the group that is targeted is usually children or families. And it's not very common to target adults specifically. And we also had like an intern survey for us organizers, gathering ideas and just keeping track of our planning with methods. And we also got some answers from the participants. Of course, we are curious to know how they perceive these workshops. What did they learn? How did they experience it in general? And I thought maybe I will just show you an example of one of these pilot activities, so you know what I'm talking about. This is an embroidery workshop that we carried out in Skåne, Sweden, at the museum's own makerspace. And we viewed 19th century speed jackets, or spede jackets in Swedish, which is a form of traditional jacket worn in Skåne, in the region. So the participants were able to go into the collections and have a look at these jackets for inspiration. So in the workshop, they used these jackets for inspiration, viewing colors, patterns, shape, material, and design for their own making. And to this specific workshop, we actually hired a spede jacket expert. Those exist. And she was viewing the jackets, telling about the techniques, and also giving some historic context to the viewers or spectator. And this expert was with the participants all time, helping them with the creative process by answering questions and showing different type of techniques. Yeah, and this is just a couple of pictures from on the left picture you can see the makerspace in the museum, and also some techniques used or tried. So this is just an example of a workshop or pilot test. And I think that's about it. If you want to know more about this project, please visit CREMA-project.eu. And these reports with recommendations and guidelines will be published on December 31st.
Hi there. We have to do it with the microphone, so I'm taking the whole power that I have in this moment. But the power is also yours, not just mine. Good morning. So it was a long road for you. Or, of course, we are not anymore in the morning. It's more like a day. So my name is Deborah, and I'm coming from Zagreb, from Radiona, which is Zagreb Makerspace, an organization that's been around from 2011. And let's say at the intersection of art, science, technology, education, innovation, and things like that. We do exhibitions, we do education program. We are STEAM-oriented, so we were kind of STEM was never just an option. We like that art. The art is with big one, yeah. We are very proud of this, and like combining diverse people, combining diverse activities, and connecting unconnectable. So it's possible. You can check what we do at radiona.org, but that's kind of, we can chit-chat later on. This is not just supposed to be kind of a presentation or talk of ideal things. So you can interrupt whenever you want, when some idea pops up or some question. So I don't want this to be straight and forward. At first, I made a PowerPoint presentation with about 60 or 70 slides, a lot of photos, because they say, like, you have to have photos. It's the power of visual information. And then I realized you will be very frustrated after that. So, because you will have like these imaginary makerspaces, yeah, imaginary spaces. And imaginary spaces are your spaces, not the spaces that exist somewhere else and that are too idealistic, you know, so it's about you. So what I want to say is like, this is very clean, but it somehow comprehends the idea. I want to talk about the spaces that have tech stuff, 3D printers, and sewing machines. And it also, like, I'm not very fond of stock photography, so I like blurred one, the pixelized one, because that's a real thing, yeah? We all struggle when we have to publish the photos and things like that. They all look like very ideal. And let's deconstruct this element, yeah? Let's be like what we are. So what is Makerspace? What my colleagues previously said, and they will continue much smartly than I can do. In the afternoon, within the workshop, within their workshops, we kind of talked about during this project what is a makerspace. And of course, there are definitions, there are some histories, there are some kind of what people are doing. What we come up with is a very a common ground, definition that is a community-based space where people meet, connect, collaborate, share, and socialize based on their mutual and common interest in the areas of technology, new media, hybrid, which is now basically new media, hybrid arts, digital arts, science, innovation, arts and crafts, and creativity itself. So what it's diversify, and we wanted to diversify it from just having it as a tech geeks, where people don't communicate, they have Linux, or this image that we have about the hacker, who's been hacking a credit card with a hoodie, and he's been doing so, and the screen looks like in the Matrix. Usually in the programmer's world, it doesn't look like a Matrix. It's really like they're Googling, and finding error, on the Google, and then trying to copy-paste it in some script or things like that. So it's not like, being in an action movie, where you change the world. You change the world with the small things, not just, being an action hero, in front of the screen. Heroes are happening somewhere else in our lives, in our everyday lives, yeah? So there are diverse makerspaces, which are based on the needs of a certain environments. They can be civic non-profit makerspaces, which are bottom-up based. They're a result of a civic society or citizens lab, citizens gathering in their garages. They're just making it a little bit institutional from what your grandfathers have had in their basements, in their garages, in the cellars. They were repairing things, because we lived for centuries in the maker culture. The artisans, craftsmen, people, they were repairing things. Our grandmothers knew how to use a sewing machine. It was a part of every household. All of a sudden, we have generations that don't know how to change a bulb. They need an expert. So we stopped using our hands, our motoric skills to do something with our hands. And it's something that is very valuable, So maker culture is actually about that. There are certain levels and certain environments where they pump up. They could be university, makerspaces, school makerspaces, library. There are also fab labs, there are repair cafes, there are co-working spaces, there are hubs. The terminology is kind of broadening. It's very nice because it shows the richness of our idea making, and also like how we socialize and gather together along different topics. Yeah. So what I want to say is that don't be discouraged by shiny photos of spaces, of tools, and people. There is a very famous photo that was a couple of years ago when the maker movement was arising. There was a photo of a photo model, and she was having a soldering iron, on like a pencil. And what the photographer didn't notice is that she is having it in the hand, the way how she would basically, if the soldering iron would be plugged in, she will burn herself. So that was really a fake image of something, and the community was laughing at this stock image. So what I want to say is that be realistic, don't be discouraged, and try to explore the areas how you can build up the makerspace. This is something that we will spend the next 15 minutes. It always looks like this when you search. It's a big space. It has a great light. It has a great amount of tools, of furniture. It's always clean. It shouldn't be clean. Yeah, we should get our hands dirty. Yeah, we shouldn't is it the making? When we bake something at home, okay, at home it might be never clean, yeah? But what I want to say is these images are really nice, sometimes it's inspirational, but also it can be obstacles for what you do, for what you want to achieve. This one is also like the science and innovation thing, but it's too clean. It's would you let children here? You don't want this to get dirty, yeah? You want to keep it like this. It's like a catalog. It's really nice. It's not used. So let's keep it there. Don't use it, yeah? And this one, it's amazing. The color, everything. So you can get a little bit radiant from these colors. But they fit, together. It's obvious, nobody is 3D printing there because, you can only clean the dust. So what we want to say, it's really counterproductive to create common spaces for making something that you can only clean the dust, or you can only have a very expensive machinery. For your situation, they are not realistic. You have to come with what you have. It doesn't mean you have to be super ambitious. It doesn't mean you have to write the next application for European Social Fund and kind of drown yourself into administration to get the super expensive tools that nobody uses later. You want to start with a very simple setting. What I want to say is that creating a makerspace, really, this is something that I should supposed to say at the end. You just need a desk and 4 chairs, even 2 chairs, a screwdriver, a very elementary tool, and then you seed it. Then you go, further. Then you be just never. It doesn't take, kind of in a sense, a lot. It just takes people, you, somebody else, so it's a combination. It depends on your environment. Don't you ever think that you have to check at a fab lab at the MIT in Boston that has millions and millions of dollars. This is the inspiration. The results are sometimes inspiring. But you can achieve with a smaller one. And what is achievement? Yeah, it's also like the questioning yourself. What do we want to do? And you will later see within the workshops that my colleagues will deliver to you is that exactly this diversity makes actually the makerspace from diverse perspective, from diverse opportunities that you have in your environment. So it is really like about the space, but it could be movable. It could be portable. It could be a mobile lab. It could be a lab in your pocket, in your box, whatever it takes. It's a program. Sometimes when you don't have so much space, then you focus on the program. Then you say, hey, we are now going to do electronic workshops, hacking workshops with the local community. So it doesn't have to be just like that. You can collaborate with many diverse organizations or individuals from your surrounding, from your territory. Tools, of course, but not necessarily too. You can also, in collaboration with the local makerspace, make a great project in your museums, you know. So it's a different thing. Facilities too, like what do you have or not. And it's just about that. It's about you, your colleagues who understand or don't understand, your boss who will say yes, giving you a green light for such activity, you know, because especially when you say hacking in a museum, we don't want to hack, so it's connected with the credit card, as I mentioned. It's not really. It's about dismantling machinery and not necessarily getting it back in the same shape, yeah? It's about to do something with electronics, to demystify technology, to kind of set up. This is maybe the only photo from our current space, and you see that it's the people that matters. It's something that you make as inclusive space that also women feel empowered to be in a tech environment, children, so it's great to have it intergenerational, so you don't have kind of a sense of that you're excluding someone, and it's something that brings really a richness to your makerspace. So when building and organize your makerspace, first what you will do is really something that you do with the rest of your projects. Yeah, you go, you explore, you search, you ask, what is happening in your local communities? Is there any talented kids? Are there any grown-ups, seniors who are visiting the museum and know something from the areas when we were not digital, when we were analog, when people were repairing things, when people would know how to change the light bulb and do things at home? Then you brainstorm individually or with a team. You have to have a mind likes. Sometimes even if you feel like you are the only one in your institution that understands the thing, you just have to be a little bit, you know, like diplomatic in a sense of, because I understand with the museums, and we work a lot, with many museums in Croatia and abroad, it's not easy to get. The museum has a certain setup. You have alarm system, you have a security measures, and makers sometimes don't understand that. Museums like Rijksmuseum they printed the 3D collections, you know, and they printed artifacts for their collections. But for instance, the Met had a problem because the people who were running the lab, you know, couldn't get along with the idea that they have to shut down at 5, because the museum shuts down at 5. There is a fire worker there, the fire system, the protection system, the alarm. It's simply like sometimes you get these obstacles and you have to build the bridges. It sounds like a cliche, but really, like how you're going to, on your own, hack this kind of your own system, you know, that needs to be like that, that feeds itself. But then again, you have to find a way, some crack, because, you know, like the water, you know, you see the crack and the water goes. It will always find a way. So this is something that you also have to find a way to see within your territory, within your environment, how you can set up a space like this. Whether it's going to be, like I said, based on a space, but space without people, it's nothing. If it's going to be a machinery, or if it's going to be a program, as in museums, you have big opportunity to go with programs. This is something that you can justify to the funders much better than the rest of the institutions, you know, and this is something that I would recommend that you go within the program, yeah, because it's, in a way, it makes it much easier. It's a shortcut, let's say. So, let's be next. So your team, your curators, educators, and colleagues are on the same page, you know. Yeah, and the cleaning lady too, that's very important. Yeah, we have to be very respectful also to this profession, and to understand that she was all of a sudden, you see how it's biased, you know, because I said already, I'm assuming it's her, yeah. What I want to say is that from setting up here, being so clean and so nicely to this space, all of a sudden there are leftovers of cable, of resistors, parts of electronics. It's not anymore paper, you know, it's something like very concrete, and she really has to clean it up, everything, because it's like, and with the hot glue gun there is a sticked table. So how it's going to handle with this? She will say at some point to the boss, hey, they are leaving a mess after them. So do you want to go into this situation? So have these people also on your side, yeah? Think about that, whether you are going to protect the table, how you're going to handle this, you know, into the concrete space, so there is no damage in a sense of that you feel like, wow, we are setting up the program, it goes like this, and you feel like happy, and then somebody from bottom up comes and says something, and there is a story around it, and then everything falls down. You don't want this. So it's good to rethink about these stages which are based on human interactions, on communication, how we communicate. Sometimes it's possible, sometimes it's not, you know. So how to make someone maybe who is not understanding, or, you know, sometimes we just had maybe a little bit mean person around. So how are you going to play this diplomatic, you know, we did this for decades like this, you know. How many times have you heard this? It's a proven way, yeah. And now you are bringing something like, you are bringing wild people here as hackers or makers, or who are these people, you know? Let them do it in their home. So how are you going to explain that this is a creation process? For this reason, it's good not just to have STEM, but STEAM, yeah? Because you have this ideation. Painters didn't have clean and nice ateliers, yeah? They had really like, it was about creative mess. So I have to be super fast. Yeah, so what I want to say is that you can circulate, explore diverse spaces, you know, everywhere, scout these spaces, you know, connect with them, because they are future partners. You can come to the people in the makerspace and invite them, you know, hey, would you deliver a workshop? You have to also think about something else, the material costs. Even it's a DIY scene, are sometimes not very cheap, you know, so people are usually misguided that, yeah, it's a cheap thing. It is on a certain level, but still there are material costs, and it's not anymore a paper workshop you deliver. It's not the same. It's not just scissors and paper and we do like things like that. It's a little bit different. So there is a development process too. If someone is making kits, they have a production processes. And of course, it's not, the costs are simply not the same. And I spent the years trying to convince museum people, you know, it's not anymore the same 500 kunas, for which is a ridiculous price, for the I don't know, 2 hours workshop. It takes much more. So you have to think about that. Also like that it's not the same, and that people sometimes don't get it. How is that so expensive? It is because it's much more included in that sense. So brainstorm your program, gather tools, furniture, space, ideas, and build a concrete space, which is something that is not so unusual and uncommon to you, because you set up exhibitions, you set up programs, talks, round tables. It's the only difference that it makes is that you now have something that might be here for a longer time, and it's a little bit dirtier, yeah? That's an euphemism, I'm very aware of this. But it's kind of, you have to explain to people that they should be enough brave to enter this area, you know? It's not about, we are now in the times of innovation, we should do it. It's about the creation. It is a moment in life that we need to include more technology into education, the same as we need to include more into technology, we should include more art and creativity, yeah? So plan these activities and actions that you should be happy. You don't want to get into trouble with your colleagues because of that. You don't want to be like, of course, if you do stuff that everyone likes you, sometimes you have to question yourself, is it a good way? When they don't like you, it's also like the way maybe you're actually too good. But be prepared for this, that that this maybe can cause a little bit of stress in the institution, but you have to be kind of plan enough in advance, make this risk management, like who is being your alliance, who is not be, who you have to talk with the coffee and discuss about a little bit, and to show them how they can use this as a creative tool. Make it an action. So there is no winning formula, because makerspaces are very diverse. You will see when you are exploring makerspaces that the diversity is something that really is very specific. Sometimes they are only STEM-oriented, sometimes they are really having crafting. You can have knitting workshops, makerspaces with hackerspaces with knitting workshops, with connecting them. I saw the example in Scotland where they're connected knitting and crocheting from a senior generation with the new generation of contemporary dance choreographers and dancers in the local community. And they did together projects. And that was really amazing. This is also about the social one, the social experience, the community work, and connecting and interconnecting, something that might look interconnectable, but we see this where we are here in the museum, so everything is possible, yeah? You just add a little bit more of tech. So this is like a lot of tolerance, yeah, in your museum. Sometimes you do stuff, sometimes not. This is a graffiti. This was a graffiti off topic. It was like we were the first space that we got in the student center in 2011. It was like 20 square meters, and but it's something like that started. You start from nothing. When you start from nothing, then you have like really more realistic point of view. You all have your spaces in museums, a little bit of the portion of it, so you're already at the good point of starting it, but always have low expectations, because it keeps you more grounded, more like expecting, I'm not going to say like expecting only the worst. No, it's not about that. It's just about, it's much easier to go through this, to the obstacles and to everything that comes upon this. But because it's a beautiful thing to do, the makerspace is something that should bright in your space, no matter what kind of type. As you can see, scissors, glue, cardboard, traditional hand tools. It's nothing like very complicated until we came to this part, computer, camera, scanners, which is like your office, and then it's super easy. Yeah, it is, but you don't want also to clean the dust from this equipment, then 3D printers. You have to be aware, it's a beautiful thing to have a 3D printer, but for that reason, connect with your community, because the 3D printer is not just like the printer paper. You click and it goes, the object comes up. It's a 3D modeling, it's a debugging, it's mechatronic because it has a couple of motors, it moves, it can stack. It depends on the plastic you use, the model. There are wrap 3D printers, which are very intuitive, but the situation has changed. But for that reason, it's good that you connect with your local community. So there is a capacity there. You can engage these people without, in a sense of bringing your own museum in a situation that you have to justify constantly. It's good that you have people who you can collaborate with. Yeah, if you don't have possibilities to employ person, to get. So we got a tech. A guy on a full-time. I have to say something to you honestly. I was visiting a lot of science museum and centers and innovation centers, and I see very often these people also like getting into this routine of coming from 8 to 4 to work. So for that reason, I see when you are having a makerspace, it's a good thing to involve the community that still has this passion that is above this 8 to 4, because then you will have a possibility to have a makerspace where you will clean the dust more. It's like biscuits or coffee. It's not easy for your country, to have these kind of practices, but make it more human. Yeah, make it not about equipment, not about institution, but making more about skills and our human interactions and humans at all. So you see, these are the machinery that you will need, elementary, like drilling machine, joining machines, craft and art supplies, scrap materials, disposable. You don't have to have necessarily all of them. You start by building it, you know. If you have the first drilling machine, of course you are half road, yeah? And be safe in your makerspace, so there are safety measures. Sometimes they give me, I work a lot with children and at the workshops, and usually when I say 8 to 12 years, they send me like 4 years old children, and you cannot imagine what it's been like having like 15 children, and then I have from 4 to 15 in the same group. So safety measures are really important, you know. You don't want anyone to hurt themselves. But this is also like with the scissor workshop, with the paper workshop. When you have these tools, this is something that has been very important that you think about, that you don't go headlessly. It's not something that I want to scare you. We will not doing this because, you know, you see what she's been saying. I'm just saying you all the stages of this, that it's good that if you bring these machines, of course, you will have to have, especially as a museums, you cannot just go and bring a laser cutter space because laser cutter are they have a specific smoke, they can be toxic, so you have to think where you will put it in. It happens to innovation centers too. They are sometimes not thinking about these processes, and they just build a very nice co-working space, only with glass and a shiny, you know, leather tables and chairs, but they don't think about that it's not just the appearance. It's something that you have to have. You want people to use the ground like this, you know, so it can clean easy, so it can, you know, be like a friend to your activities, you know, not an obstacle. And yeah, this has been in short. So thank you very much for this. Now let's talk if I have a little bit of time. I hope that we have, that I haven't been so long, and that you are not scared. Please tell me if anyone is scared.
I'm not scared. I'm not scared at all. Well, first of all, thank you. You have a wonderful energy, and I think you managed both to be like very realistic and very encouraging at the same time in an authentic way. So
Okay.
thank you for that. I was just wondering, since you mentioned this project about knitting and choreography at the same time, is there some place where we can check that project out, or what was its name? Because I'm super curious about that.
Yeah, I think I found it by Googling. You just put Scotland, knitting and dancing, something like that. So I can help you later to find this.
I thought you were involved in it. So that's
No. It's just like it's something that also like inspired me to. But from the beginning, it's connecting unconnectable. So you don't have to be brave. Like it's not about Arthur King, you know, and going in a quest that you are on the horse and doing something. It's just like start from a very simple and basic things. Like I said, it could be. It doesn't have to be something that you can have a permanent, you can have a mobile, you can have. I understand that some museums have spaces. We had examples within our partner spaces that are, you know, for exhibitions or sometimes for workshops, sometimes workshop spaces. Within this project, we had also like how to diversify it. Is it a creative space? Is it a maker space? Is it, like my colleague said, and you will hear later, digital maker space? Like what are we doing? What are our realistic expectations and possibilities? But if you don't have anything, it doesn't mean like you give up. You know, I seen the projects that you can maybe apply for getting a container. There is this museum in Lyon, museum, I don't know if I will spell it, my French is not like, is it Compliance? It's something like that. It's a big one. It has like this combination of anthropology and technology, and they have very big yearly budget for maintaining the museum, but they didn't have a space for makerspace, but it's a huge one. And they get the container. They rearrange the container in the backyard, in front of the museum, with vintage tools, with magnetophones. It's like a submarine from inside, and it has a table, and it has a 3D printer. It has a, you know, something drilling machine, so people can work and have workshops there. I was also, asked by we have this, it's a country my country is a country of Nikola Tesla, yeah. So, and there is this museum in the country, there is the birthplace of Nikola Tesla, and they have a museum which is a very nice building with, they are presenting a couple of his devices and a movie about Nikola Tesla, but it's completely not usable for workshops. And the ladies from the museum asked me, like, what shall we do? We don't have they didn't think about that one day, like 15 years ago, there will be a place for workshop. It should be. That's you cannot just live on the story about how he was birthed and what he did, because we already have a technical museum in Zagreb. So I said, let's try to get this container, and then containers. There is this Rog Lab in Ljubljana. This is how they started. Also, from the local communities, several organizations gathered together. And they wrote a proposal to get 2 containers, and they bought 2 containers and rearranged with the city to get, of course, facilities like water, like electricity, to plug it in life, you need electricity. And they got this space, and now several organizations, and it itself, it's another organization that is running this space, And they're also portable, because container is portable, at one point. So if you don't have nothing, but you always have a hall, you always have a space, you can do great stuff in a hall. Mixing together the open spaces with 4 tables and having hackathons, having workshops together can also bring us great energy, If you have, graphic printing on a T-shirts next to electronic workshops in the same space. The other are doing something with papers, connecting papers and electronics, LED, diorama, pop-up, something like that. Reconnect together or make an event that connects together, artists and tech people. That's also because they have to communicate. What I've learned, for so many years in running a makerspace, of course, at the beginning, I faced this gap between professions. They don't communicate. They don't know how to talk. The geeks don't have social skills. There is among STEM people, there are also a certain percentage of Asperger, and this is something you have to understand that mathematics and physics is also about that, so this helps a lot to understand and comprehend. I should stop. Yeah?
No.
Yeah.
Question of understanding. 3 years in a project, and it's only now that I learned the difference between STEM and STEAM. Can you just a little bit explain that?
Well, the STEM it's amazing. I mean, the biology is the science of the future. Yeah, we will. The 3D printing is now the future. This is the same when we talk about. It's nothing of this tech stuff is the future. It's already happening, yeah. The same as with apocalypse, when they say it's going to happen one day. No, it's happening for decades, but we just have to emphasize, it's but the biology is really something that we should look upon. It's part of the STEM. And science and technology people sometimes put aside this creative process. They don't understand things. They kind of, I don't want to be like they and us, and I've been jumping in my own mouth many times during this presentation, but sometimes it takes a lot of social work, it takes a lot of communication, it takes patience, but it's not that it's the joint projects are being done like this, including art and design into the process, and then arts and humanities, which is our profession basically, is fundamentally. It's because there is something called the cultural history of science. If you look, this is something that I always, when I try to explain to STEM people why we should put art, creativity, design, arts, and humanities in our areas, then I say, look at the history. We saw a lot of the first scientists were also writers, poets, very often priests, yeah, and in many cultures. It was like that, because these are people who were bringing literacy, yeah? We can talk about what is elite or not, but that's a long discussion that could end up tomorrow. But it's kind of, this cultural history of science is really fascinating, and I think it's something that we can look up. The other aspect that is very crucial when we talk about and when we try to explain to people why arts and humanities plus STEM is the cohesion and inclusion, which is something where all of you Nordic countries are forerunners, yeah, and how to use technology to create innovation for people who have certain disabilities, certain challenges. We are running for 2 years now IncluLab, in which we are making, STEAM electronic things for people with intellectual disabilities. And it's really possible. And why not? Why not learning? We learn. Also, it's two-dimensional process of learning. We build our own capacity to learn about diverse professions and areas, and they learn also and about things that usually we mystify as something for gifted people. Yeah, so that's in short. Yeah. I was told that I should shut my mouth. Thank you.
Thank you, Debbie. Thank you so much, Deborah. And you will be here the whole day, so if you have any questions, I think, yes, thank you for very inspiring presentation. And now we have 3 different examples from Finnish museums. We hear examples that are connected to creative making and adult learning, and the Finnish Museum of Photography will be the first presenter. And just a second, they are putting their microphones.
Okay, here we are on this great set. And my name is Erja Salo, and I'm the head of the learning and public programs in the Finnish Museum of Photography, which is right here in this same building. I hope you have time to visit our exhibitions. We are on the first floor. And then we have another venue in the center of Helsinki called K1. It's in this department store called Camp Gallery. But right now we are building an exhibition there which will have an opening on Thursday evening. So if you are then wondering what to do on Thursday evening, please come to the exhibition opening as well. It's at 6 o'clock. And I'm here with Zara. Would you like to present yourself?
Sure. Hi everyone, I'm Zara. I'm from Lahore, Pakistan. I'm currently pursuing a master's degree in Nordic Visual Studies and Art Education. I have a background as an art educator and as an artist. So I approached Erja in the museum for an internship, and that's the project we'll be talking about.
So this has all happened during the COVID pandemic in last November. Zara did the first part of your internship, and then we divided it in 2 parts, and the other one was in March when we ran the actual workshops. And now you will guide us through the how you reach out the groups, and probably what's most important and interesting are the challenges.
Yeah.
And then we can talk and discuss.
So I started out in November 21. I reached out to around 10 associations. They were different languages and especially English speaking. But our priority was to reach out to non-Finnish speaking audiences. So about, I think, 2 were very interested in knowing more about the museum and what we could present in terms of workshops and exhibitions. So in December, we had a pilot workshop where the K1 venue was introduced, and we talked about the upcoming exhibition, which was then in Feb, of Zanile Mohali. And out of 1 association participated, there were 8 people who signed up. This was an association which was Arabic speaking and English speaking. So there were 8 participants who signed up, out of which, I think there were 3 that participated. And after that, we had some kind of a more idea as to how to proceed further with the workshops, because initially they were mostly about either tours or mostly photography related. Erja, would you like to add something at this point?
Yes, maybe some background that in the Finnish Museum of Photography, we don't regularly work with the non-Finnish speaking groups. And of course the reality was now that because you don't speak Finnish or read Finnish, and we are very welcoming internships also without non-speaking Finnish interns. We had to kind of, that was a reality, and then this was a good coincidence that the CREMA-project was at the same time. And so we started from the zero, almost from the zero, and Zara, your job was to run the workshops, to plan the content, but also to reach out and communicate with the groups. So from zero to this, what you're telling us now.
Yes, it was a bit of a short time to do everything in because my internship was maximum like 3 months at that time. And so in Feb, we started again to reach out to different associations, and we got to know from the previous associations in November and December, we got to know of this umbrella association, Moniheli, and through them we reached out to further people. And so there were 3 workshops that were organized, 2 in the K1 and 1 at the Cable Factory. And the first one was a tour of Zenele Moholi's exhibition. So it was a fully booked event, but very few people actually attended. There were a couple of people who were from different associations, and some were Finnish as well. The second workshop was a collage making workshop, again based on the Zenele Moholi exhibition. From here, like at least 4 people were from, 4 people had not been to the museum before, and 4 people had been and were Finnish-speaking individuals. Would you like to add something?
Maybe that first we thought that all these workshops that you planned could make a whole together, so the same participants would participate to each of the 3 workshops, so you could work with the people that you know, and it would be more long-term thing. But then we realized that because the reaching out of the participants was so challenging when you start from the zero, we decided that these were more like events, so they were all separate from each other, and we used the Eventbrite platform, and it worked actually well. Plus that you found this Moniheli association, which we are really happy about knowing now when we continue. So in the middle of this workshop, we did this kind of turn that instead of 3 workshops for the same people, it became a series of 3 events.
And actually, when this, after this workshop in particular, after the collage making workshop, there were 2 participants who attended the next one as well. So it does go to show that if they enjoy one, and then further on you start to develop a kind of a network almost of people who are interested in the museum and its activities. So there were about 5 participants for this workshop, and at least 2 had not been to the museum before, and 2 had come from the previous workshop. So it was an interesting experience for me as an art educator as well, because we primarily were reaching out to young adults and especially adults, because I feel that there aren't so many activities or art-related activities that are happening for the adult age group. There are lots happening for kids, there are lots happening for teenagers, but this is and the people who came were quite immersed in it. I mean, we planned the collage making workshop for 1.5 hours, but it ran for almost 2. It could have gone on for 2.5, because the process as well is quite it can be ongoing as well. So it was quite immersive that way, so it was good to know. And then we come to some of the results from here. So like I was saying, we were targeting mostly young adults and adults. Out of the people who came, Only 2 were between the age group of 18 to 25, and the rest between 26 to 60 years. And not all of them had the professional background of artists or educators. Some were coming from like universities, from different departments, so not all were related to the field of art. From a total of 17 people who attended all these combined, starting from the pilot to the last workshop, at least 9 had not been to the museum before, and a few visited more or less irregularly. And there were Finnish nationals as well who participated, and I feel this was an interesting kind of a mix of people where you get to interact with different people and you get to know where everyone is coming from, like different walks of life. So it's engaging that way. Yeah, of course.
Yeah. To this notion that there were Finnish-speaking people as well, maybe we can draw a conclusion that the content of these events was so interesting that it wasn't after the language that the people came. And as you see, even if the volume of the people participating in these events is not high at all, which we were not even targeting, and a lot of people didn't show up at all, still it has quite deep effect on those who came.
Yes, and then we come to some of the challenges that we came across. I think the number one was the communication. I feel for when you're trying to reach out to different non-Finnish speaking associations and organizations and communities, it's a matter of time. It's a very long-term project that has to be envisioned. There's a lot of back and forth in it. Right now, I was only approaching via emails and phone calls, but there was a lot of following up for me that I had to do. And personally, I would have liked to actually go there, communicate in physical form, because we were also in the mid of COVID, and then so it was a little tricky, and also because of time crunch, which was the time slot that I had for my internship. But it would have been great to one-on-one or face-to-face interact, build a comfort level, an association, and then plan out. And in this way, we also get to know what is it that people are looking for. Like in the pilot workshop, we got to know a little bit about people being interested in these kind of workshops. So you get to know more. Second is also a little bit about space. It would be good to envision it maybe at the community center or a different space than the museum space, because it is also a formal environment. So that's also something that needs to be kind of thought about, I think. Anything else would you like to add?
Perfect, nothing.
Yeah, but this was quite interesting for me as well, because again, like I am interested in continuing with workshops and engaging with different groups of people. And for me, the age group adult was really exciting to work with, and I think there's a lot of opportunity to do a lot more in this area. So that's about it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Is anyone having any questions for Zara and Erja? Any questions?
I think a lot of you probably have gone through the same process.
Yeah. Wondering if you wish to continue as a museum will continue this project.
Sure, of course we are interested in non-Finnish speaking audience, but like Zara's being here and she doing it as an intern, maybe tells about the resources a bit, that of course we could really go out of the box and prioritize the non-Finnish speaking groups, but right now the Finnish speaking public is in the focus and it takes the main workforce. So, but I find myself it most interesting that Finnish-speaking audience came after the content. So there was this extra output, that, like you said, that maybe we as a museum don't have enough this free time photography based events for the adult audience. We run weekend courses, but they have quite big price tag, but these were free. So that's something to think about. Yes, please.
Do you think that at least part of the Finnish-speaking public might have been attracted by the chance of practicing their English, for example, or was it just about the content?
What do you think? No.
Well, the people who came were quite good with English, but I do think it's a good opportunity. That's something one is concerned about, and like I said, like it's also a good place for people from different walks of life to come and intermingle. So there are lots of ways people can interact and influence one another. Yeah, so it was definitely that space.
But we actually ran continuously street photography walks in the center of Helsinki. They start from the K1, and half of those during the May and September are in English. There's an English-speaking photographer present, and then it's a 2-hour walk, and participants take images, etc. And it's always full. It's always 15 people, so really it's about the content in the end.
Thank you so much. It was so nice to hear about your experiences, and it was very nice to hear that you were also in this project with us. So yes, really nice. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yes, and next, after this inspiring presentation, we hear more inspiring experiences from the Hotel and Restaurant Museum. Merja Nummi from Hotel and Restaurant Museum will tell us more about their experiences.
So hello, my name is Merja Nummi and I'm the museum educator at the Hotel and Restaurant Museum. I'm going to talk about two examples, museum box and then about a project called From One Professional to Another. But first, few words about our museum. It's also situated in this same building, just 1 floor up, and I hope you have time to visit our museum also during your visit in Finland. Even though our name is Hotel and Restaurant Museum, we showcase more about food and drinking culture in Finland. It's a 50-year-old museum. The name comes from that it was established by the teachers of hotel and restaurant field. We have 2 exhibitions. Here's few pictures from our main exhibition, Taste Matters. It starts from the nature. You can see the picture in this slide. Continues to Alko store, which is a state monopoly in Finland, a restaurant, school cafeteria, cafe, and a hotel room, and tells the story of food and drink culture, how it has changed. There's also a lot of memories, and the purpose is to bring those memories that you have from food and drink culture to everybody's mind, what they remember. The second exhibition that we have on right now is called Tuesday Dinner with Drinks, and it's a taste journey to 1970s. We have about one theme exhibition every year. The next one next year is going to be about food tattoos. Very interesting topic. So, to get into a museum box, you need to find out to solve 3 mysteries or riddles, and I'm going to ask them from you. So the first one: what records the memory with light and shadow? you can get ideas from this slide. Yes. The next one. A new world always opens up behind my curtains. A new world always opens up behind my curtains. This is maybe for the Finnish speaking because it's on the text. Yes. Theater, yes. And the last one, this is the trickiest one. Gleaming white walls, silky soft inner surface, a golden apple hidden in the middle of the clear spring. What is it? What is it? It's also in the picture. I know. Anyone? It's popping up now. Yes. And the next thing is to open up the gateway. So I'm going to send a clap to Siri, and she's going to send it to next one, and then we go on. Let's go this side first, and then we are ending up to you. So, clap. Try to go faster. Yes, thank you. Now we have opened up the museum box. If we would be in the real museum box, I wouldn't be here. You would be as a group, and I would be in the screen. So the museum box is an online service of 3 museums. The Museum of Photography, Erja is one part of our project, then the Hotel and Restaurant Museum, and the Theatre Museum. Together we form the Cable Museums. It's an experimental way of doing combining our 3 different contents into one kind of experience for the public. It's a group, like a communal service. So the group gets together. It can be a library, or it can be a school room, or it can also be a home, wherever you can get the screen and then online connections to our museum. There's always a guide present in that experience. Here's a few pictures from the first test that we have made. The whole session is about 45 minutes. Our next goal is to get the guide that you can see on the right there, to get from head to toe to be seen. Now you can only see half of her or him. It starts with a phone call to the group, and then they open up this portal to the museum box. The first demos that we have made is through this hotel lobby that you see in the corner there. This hotel was an old hotel in real life, and it combined all these 3 contents. There was, of course, a restaurant. In that hotel there was a theater, and there was also a photo studio in the hotel. Here's our test group. This was made for our own staff, so there's only 3 participants that we tried. This one. We have done 1 full demo round for libraries and university students. At the moment, actually tomorrow, we have more demos for senior house residents. And our third phase is starting at the same time, and we are doing a new manuscript, and the purpose is to write a new kind of more like escape room like content. The idea is to be an adventure to one's mind. So we are kind of developing one step further, and our target group is a little bit younger, but still adults, maybe around 20s, people around 20s. So that was a museum box. I will check how much I have time. Not much. From one professional to another was a project that we did 2019 to 2020 about. That was, the aim was to get our content group that we have retired and still working in real life in the hotel and restaurant field, and those that are students together in this workshop. The purpose was to support professional identity for these both groups. Here's a few pictures from the workshop that we did. So there is one guy standing there who was retired. They made this timeline from about 100 years what has happened in hotel and restaurant fields. These were students of travel industry. The plan was to have from 6 to 8 participatory history workshops, 2 hours each. The cooperation in the museum was the curators and the museum educator, and also we had a producer for this project. There was different kind of materials that we wanted to bring to this workshop. Here you can see there was a pictures, job certificates, and also objects from our collections. Because of the COVID, of course, this didn't happen as we planned. We ended up having one workshop at the museum and one online. These two did work very well, and we would like to continue this work. At the moment, we don't have enough staff to do more of these workshops, but hopefully in the future. We published all the materials that we did on our website. They are in Finnish, Swedish, and also in English, so if you are interested, you can go and look for them. So those materials include the frame, how we did it, what kind of materials we use, and how this can be proceeded to other museums. Did I use my time? I'm not sure, maybe. So if you have any questions, you can ask me, and I recommend follow us on social media. Thank you very much. Do you have any questions? Yes.
I was just wondering, so it was 2 different projects, the
yes.
museum box and from professional
yes.
to professional, and the museum box, what do you get in the box? Like when you then open it up, what happens then?
So the group is in the room and they have this screening, and the guide or facilitators comes out of the box from the screen, and they showed different kind of pictures from the museum. They have these different kind of exercises that they do. It includes photographic, restaurant, and theater from the other side. Yes, please.
Right. I think I spotted that you've been selected by the Ars Electronica for
yes.
the
One of the 20 museums, yes.
So can you tell us more where you're heading? What is the next level that you wish to bring it?
The technical side is our main goal from the next side. Is it here? Yes. We want to develop it so that you can see the facilitator from the top to toe. And we want to make more of these kind of storylines to a different kind of audiences. Yeah.
The end product will remain exclusively in your hands, or is it something?
No, the idea is that we can. The idea is that it can be scalable and we can share to any museum that want to use it. Yeah. So we are just in the demo stage at the moment. Yes. If there is no more questions, thank you very much.
Yes, thank you so much, Merja. And last presentation before the lunch break, we have Siri here from the Theatre Museum, and she will tell us about the theatre method working with adults with disabilities in one of ERASMUS projects.
All right. Hello again, my name is Siri. I'm here from the Theatre Museum, so nice to see you all here. I work here as a freelancer, mainly with theatre education, workshops and projects. And I will tell you about 2 different case examples we have. But firstly about theatre. What is the core of theatre? Is it the costumes or is it the set design? No, it's the disappearing moment where the actual piece is happening, where we are in interaction. And that experience is very hard to put in a glass shelf. We can't have an actor all day sitting there and playing a performance. So we have to think a little bit different here, how to showcase the world of theatre. And I think the best way is, of course, to experience it yourself. And that's why we had made it very easy to do so here. If you visit the room that has the black doors over there, we have this Arcadia Theatre, where we have costumes. There's a stage you can go perform at, and some lights you can try, you can put on your own music. So everybody turns into an actor and an active maker here in the Theatre Museum, grasping for that disappearing moment where you experience the theatre magic. But we also have workshops, of course, where we have us people leading the project. And one of those workshops is called in English Working Well, which is for working communities, recreational well-being for work. In Finnish, the name of the workshop is Tykyttääkö, which is kind of like a beating heart, like anxiously. And the beginning of the workshop, when I go to take people from downstairs, from the lobby, I usually ask, do you know where you're coming? Are you anxious? And usually when I say I'm from the Theatre Museum, they go like this, because they are assuming that, okay, now we're going to theatre and now I have to act and now I have to perform and do all these horrible things. And then I tell them that it's okay, that I am not going to put anybody in the center and we are going to do things together. But that's kind of the beginning of the workshop, that you might feel a bit like, what is going to happen? And that is also the goal of the workshop, to manage this kind of stress and ease up, also in the individual level, but also as a work community. How do we ease with each other? How do we communicate? And how could we have a little bit fun together and get better at communicating with each other? The workshop is kind of a washing machine program, so that in the beginning already the elevator works as one of these machine programs. We go there very, very tired like this, and then the elevator cleans up first dusts from everybody and you feel a bit refreshed. And then we do the power soap that we all did together also to also clean maybe the prejudices of who is this person talking to me, what is this this workshop we are doing, so kind of those washing away also if you have some sort of like, I don't know if I want to do this. So then you get those away also. What is in between of you opening up to the process of working together as a group? And after that we go to the deep clean mode where we do a bit more intense things and group dynamic exercises and about tools, how to manage yourself and how do we encounter each other each day, how could we make it the working environment better through communication. And that where also we use this kind of not speaking methods where they have to make different kind of shapes without speaking together. This is not from one of the working well, but this kind of exercise could be used. And it's actually quite interesting because many people find it very hard not to speak. They really want to be in control and they are like guiding each other even though they are not allowed to speak. But in the end they usually kind of ease up to it that, oh, I don't have to be in control all the time. I can actually just move around and take it easy. And the last mode, rinse mode, is to have fun, and we do theater improvisation, which is based on positive interaction. So the whole last part is about laughter, play, fun, listening, and engaging in the idea of that mistakes are okay and there's no judgment. So just having fun. And in the end of the workshop, maybe the heart has eased out. It's not like this anymore, and the hearts are beating to the same rhythm in a sense, and we are more calm, and as a group, we are together. Mostly the feedback from this workshop has been quite positive, and people many times tell me that how good is it to play together, even as an adult. To have fun and do that game part is very important, that we kind of forget sometimes that part, that how important, even though it's not about maybe or what you do in work, but how much it improves the feeling of being together and it gets your mind running differently. So that's what we can get a lot of thanks for. The other project I want to tell you about is Indifferent Journey project, which is an Erasmus Plus project, a long-term one. It is like this following a project called So Far So Near that a theatre museum was also a part of. And it has 6 countries working together. We have Finland, Portugal, Italy, Hungary, Turkey and France. And this project officially began in March 2021, and it will be completed next February. And the project's aim is to explore theatrical tools and artistic processes with people and individuals living with disabilities. But we are not only targeting the people with disabilities, we also want to train each other as professionals who work with these people. So it's also about that a lot. And the project has gone so that we meet both just as technicians sharing tools and methods and trying out different things, talking about these methods we use and what could we develop together. And then we also meet all of us and bring individuals of our countries with disabilities and try out together these methods we have used. And in between these international meetings, we all work with our participants in our own countries and train and try out stuff as well. People with disabilities benefit from these artistic activities, and particularly the theater methods, because it's good for the self-esteem. You get courage maybe from doing these activities, and when you have these guided rules how to play out and what you're allowed to do, you kind of, if you're not so socially skilled, you might actually feel suddenly that you are somebody else and you get to be a courageous person or whoever you like. So it's kind of this role play thing. Then it's also good for the language development and interaction, because not many people with disabled people might be on the spectrum of autism as well. So it's good also to train interaction and social skills. And then we use also a lot of body language and movement, because the talking is sometimes hard because not everybody speaks English. So the language we all share is the body language and the movement. So that's also used a lot. Then you learn about expressing of feelings and emotions, and then about your relationship with yourself and others. And these activities enable and encourage these people also to have a sense of belonging, and that they have a purpose and utility in the society as well. So that's one of the big goals also, to include these people. The basis of this project and the artistic base of work is in a novel called The Unknown Island by a Portuguese novelist, José Saramago. And we used this story with the workshops and the story we're kind of telling together. In short, the story is that it starts in a castle where there's a king who has two doors. A door where the king, receives gifts, and a door where people can come and ask favors from the king. And of course the king likes to sit by the door where he gets stuff, and not by the door where he has to give for others. And one day a man comes to the door where the king is asked for favors, and he wants to get a boat. And the king is a bit puzzled, like, what do you need a boat for? And he says that, I want to go to find the unknown island. And the king says that there's no such things. All the islands have been found already, so you don't need a boat. That's it. And the man he refuses to leave and just stays by the door. There comes a big line. Gifts don't come anymore to the king because people think that he's cheap and he's not giving out anymore. So then in the end he says, okay, fine, you can have the boat. And this cleaning lady follows him. She has enough of this king, and she goes with this man, and they go to the docks where the boat is. And in the end of the story, the woman and the man have a shared dream where they go sailing on the boat, and the boat turns into an island. It starts to build, there's trees coming on the boat, animals, and in the end this island boat travels around the seas and in search of itself. So it's kind of this story in the end of finding yourself and what's important. So that's the basis of the artistic work. And how do we use this in the workshop is called kind of through process drama, which means that we weave the story into the exercises, and at the same time people are actively doing the story themselves. They're acting it out through different games or role play, but also being spectators and seeing the story build up while they're making it. So, and we can also use any kind of methods in this storytelling process drama. We can use movement, theater, visual arts, music, all kinds of things together. So it has been quite good to do that, because then the exercises make more sense also. It's not just that, okay, now we do this statues, but nobody understands why. But if we are building the different things in the castle, we are telling the story through these methods, it kind of starts to make sense more to the participants as well. And then we also have this tool called Makey that we use. Is anybody familiar with this tool? It's a tool with physical and sensory stimulation, and it works so that it's put into the computer, and then you could add, for example, a banana to it, and when you touch the banana, the computer will get a message and something will come out, a sound or a lighting effect. So kind of you are using these objects to control the computer, and then something happens. And we have been trying out the tool on how to use it in the storytelling sense. And we also, last time we met, also tried it out as a translator, because not everybody speaks the same language or English at all. So then when you touch the banana, it said in Hungary something, and then you touch the apple, it said in Turkish, and so on, so on. So it was also a translator. And then those participants who are non-speaking can also have a voice. They can speak any language on the stage and feel engaged in that sense also. So that's what we've used that so far. Last time we met with all our participants was in Laval, France. This picture is from there. And we tried out the different methods, and we had also this dance instructor with us to do some physical movement work. And in the end of the week, we had this recap feedback session where this Italian participator had a wonderful way of putting things. And he just said that his feeling of the week was that he can do anything, just a bit slower. And I think that we did a good job in a way, that he had a sense that he can actually do anything. And that's the part of magic of theater also. You can do anything, you can be anything you want. If you want to see more pictures, you can go on our Facebook page. We have videos and pictures of our meetings and also of the individual countries working with their own groups. So if you want to see more photos or videos, you can go over the webpage, and you will see also how the project continues. Next month we will go to Hungary and have another session with all of us, so there's going to be plenty of more stuff coming out there. Thank you.
Yes. Thank you, Siri. Do you have any questions?